This podcast is brought to you by Reynolds & Reynolds, the industry leader in automotive technology. Learn how Spark AI, Reynolds' unified AI data layer, can help you unlock your full potential by visiting rey.com/spark-AI. That's rey.com/spark-AI.
Welcome to Daily Drive for Thursday, July 17th, 2025. I'm Jamie Butters, Executive Editor of Automotive News in Detroit.
And I'm Jake Neer in Detroit, in for Kellen Walker. Today on the show, automakers are off the hook for fuel efficiency penalties for the last 3 years. Volvo swings to a $1 billion loss, and AutoCanada agrees to sell most of its U.S. dealerships. Plus, Faulkner Automotive Group's Mike Rocchi talks about how the 25-store dealership group has staffed up its service drive despite the nationwide tech shortage.
We've never lost anybody to another organization.
Let's run through all the news you need to know to keep up in the auto industry.
Automakers face no fines for failures to meet fuel efficiency rules dating back to the 2022 model year. That's under a law signed by President Donald Trump this month, according to U.S. regulators. The tax and budget bill approved by Trump ends penalties for not meeting corporate average fuel economy rules established under a 1975 energy law. NHTSA said in a letter to automakers seen by Reuters that it is reconsidering fuel economy rules. Last year, Stellantis paid more than $190 million in civil penalties for failing to meet U.S. fuel economy requirements for 2019 and 2020, after paying nearly $400 million for penalties from 2016 through 2019. That's just under $100 million a year. General Motors previously paid $128 million for penalties for 2016 and 2017.
Volvo Cars CEO Håkan Samuelsson is urging the European Union to reduce duties on U.S. car imports. Volvo posted a $1 billion operating loss in the second quarter. That's due to a previously announced $1.2 billion impairment charge over model delays, as well as the escalating costs of tariffs. Gross margin is a key metric for assessing the tariff impact. Volvo's was 17.7% in the first quarter and dropped to 13.5% in the second. Samuelsson told Reuters, quote, "If Europe is for free trade, we should be the ones showing the way and going down to very low tariffs first."
Auto executives and analysts say the effects of U.S. tariffs will become more acute in the second half of the year. That's as automakers process new vehicle inventory and work with suppliers to mitigate billions of dollars in new costs. Jennifer Safavian is CEO of Autos Drive America, which represents international automakers' U.S. operations. She says costs will begin to add up in the coming months, but it's difficult to pinpoint when significant price increases or supply chain issues will become more commonplace.
What the automakers, what the suppliers are dealing with right now and trying to absorb these increased costs because of tariffs is just not sustainable. But it's unclear what is that breaking point.
The industry thus far has largely weathered the tariff storm, with anticipated steep new vehicle price increases and sharp production slowdowns not yet coming to pass. Automakers and suppliers attribute that relative stability to tariff exemptions for many North American vehicles and parts and proactive measures they took to import products ahead of the higher levies.
And AutoCanada has firmed up agreements to sell 13 of its 17 new vehicle franchises in the United States. The group is preparing to exit the American market and refocus on Canada. The deals with several unnamed buyers are worth about $60 million US dollars, including real estate. AutoCanada Executive Chair Paul Antony said, "Given the group's focus on Canada, the U.S. stores have proved difficult to operate despite the high potential of the assets." And those are today's headlines. So, Jamie, the Trump administration says it's not going to collect any fines from automakers for failing to meet fuel economy standards for the last 3 years. As we mentioned, these fines can cost tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars in total. What does it mean for automakers? And maybe also, what does it mean for efforts to curb emissions?
Well, it completely defangs the CAFE rules that have been in place for like half a century. Over the years, automakers have improved fuel efficiency, at least relative to each vehicle's size and power. inspired in part by the desire to avoid paying fines or buying credits from rivals such as Tesla. Now, there's no government pressure to make vehicles more fuel efficient. It's entirely up to the consumer and the manufacturer. To some, that's the ideal, but there are external factors that society has to live with, essentially the costs of pollution and global warming that will now just fall to future generations and their environment.
Well, coming up, we'll hear how one dealership group is solving the service tech shortage. That's next on Daily Drive.
As your business gets more complex, it feels like productivity can't go any higher. You need a way to move forward to a future where you don't have to start every interaction from scratch. You don't have to search for actionable information. You don't have to manually pull data to make decisions. You need a future where the complex is made simple and you can do more with less. How do you get there? It all starts with a spark. Unlock your full potential with the next generation of automotive dealership technology that actually does some of the heavy lifting for you by texting leads, transcribing calls, making data-backed recommendations, and boosting your overall productivity so that you can spend your time and energy on what truly matters: selling cars and growing your business. Spark AI, Reynolds' unified AI data layer, can empower your dealership to operate more efficiently and effectively than ever before, so you can do more, sell more, and make more. To learn how Spark AI can help your dealership reach its full potential, visit rey.com/spark-AI today. That's rey.com/spark-AI to learn more.
Daily Drive listeners like you have access to the lowest price for Automotive News Congress 2025 on September 11th.
The event is where the industry's biggest players tackle its toughest challenges. Congress attendees don't just follow the industry, they lead it.
This year's featured speakers include Hyundai Motor Group Executive Chair Yusin Chung and General Motors CEO Mary Barra.
We are investing in America. We're creating jobs. That's creating IP in this country. And I think, the United States needs to lead in key technologies.
Join us to gain the insights and connections needed to steer your business through massive change.
To get the lowest price for the event, go to autonews.com/events, select Auto News Congress, and type in the discount code Daily Drive, one word, all caps. We'll see you in September in Detroit. Welcome back to Daily Drive. I'm Jamie Butters with Jake Neer. If you've listened to the show for some time, you've heard us talk about the service tech shortage that has plagued dealerships for years and years. One dealership group on the East Coast has put considerable effort into recruiting and retaining techs for its 25 stores. These days, Faulkner Automotive can proudly say they've solved the problem, at least for their service drives. Michael Rocchi is the Technician Training Director at Faulkner. He spoke with our own Richard Truitt from his home office in Philadelphia.
Let me start our interview today with Mike Rocchi off on a personal note. Twice now I've been to Philadelphia, and I've been to Faulkner's facilities. And I have to tell you that in my entire career of covering this stuff, this is one of the most impressive organizations I've ever seen. If you go to a Faulkner dealership and go to the service department, it is extremely clean, organized, well lighted. It's the kind of place that you would never think of as being a place where they take apart cars and get into greasy things. It doesn't look like that. Everybody is neatly dressed. It's a very, very tightly run and professional outfit. And it's filled with people who are determined to do the right thing. And you get that impression when you spend a few hours with the Faulkner guys. Today, I'm talking to Mike Rocchi, who is the Technician Training Director for the Faulkner Automotive Group of Philadelphia. They have 31 stores, dozens of brands of cars, and they also don't have what many other dealers do, which is a shortage of technicians. And how cool is this? I'm talking with a guy in Philadelphia named Rocchi. and Rocchi's going to tell us how Faulkner was able to not only head off a technician training shortage, but develop a way to train technicians in-house. And Rock, welcome to our podcast today.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks for having me.
So Faulkner has a mentor program that you hire people sometimes off the street, sometimes out of technician training school, sometimes out of high school, sometimes out of no school. How does this program work? And more importantly, could other dealers copy what you're doing?
Oh, sure. It's a, it's a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
It's a commitment by an organization because it doesn't come cheap. Obviously, the first thing that is important is that you have to hire the right person.
Mm-hmm.
And the credit for this program should be to Harry Faulkner, who gave his blessing on it and understood, and John Komar, who is in charge of all service and parts in our organization. And John's really the one who drew this whole thing up. And I give him all the credit in the world. I've been handed the task to just maybe tweak it at times and just to follow through on it. As far as who we find and put into this program, Richard, you're right. We have some pretty good technical schools, mostly up in the West area, which is Harrisburg and Mechanicsburg and Lancaster area. Mm-hmm. And they've been able to go to different technical schools and be involved in those schools and, let's say, interview some of these students. And a lot of them up in that area start as a part-time because they're going to school. And then they progress into the full-time status. So they can advance through this program on a part-time basis. So, you're paying these kids, a wage, but it all starts with the hiring process, the interview process. Even though the school might think somebody's good, you still have to interview the person. On a part-time and a full-time basis, Rich, the three most important things we do, once we deem somebody, the service manager has deemed somebody, someone they like to move forward with, is they give them a TMA, it's like an IQ test. It's a Thurman alertness test. Mm-hmm. And once they do good there, then they take a PI test with it, which is a personality index. Now, this test was always given to sales managers, finance managers, and things of that sort. Nobody else in the organization would ever take these tests. But we felt it was important for this test because it measures and we get to see their personality, introverted, extroverted, how they blend with other people, their drive, things of that sort. And that is really handy for the service manager and the general manager who works hand in hand with the service manager through this process.
Let me stop you there and just interject one thing. You spend a lot of time screening these applicants because you're making a big investment in them. By the time they're finished with the training program, they got a toolbox that they don't have to pay for, and their career could see them be making six figures in a few years. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We, after the 8th week, which is after phase 1, which is 6 weeks, the service manager, general manager sit down, they discuss whether or not they feel this person is going in the right direction and would they want to invest in the toolbox. And it's a Snap-on toolbox with Snap-on tools. And the value of that box is $12,000. And they get to use that box because in this way, the mentor who they're working with doesn't have to be worried about where his tools are. They're responsible for this. And they keep these tools through the 2-year program that we set up. And then 1 year after, so the third full year and 1 day, that box is theirs. They don't pay a penny for it. The company absorbs everything.
So the other path of becoming a technician, of course, would be going to a technician training school. And if you do that, you might graduate with student loans, and you'd probably have to buy your own toolbox when you started at your first dealership. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it makes it economically, there's a lot of kids that just can't afford that. And there's a lot that have talent that get bypassed because of it. And the third test, I didn't mention the third test, is the mechanical aptitude test. The mechanical aptitude test has shown us, without a doubt, that it really separates and really has improved our, I'll call it a failure rate of initially we were probably in the 24% area. And now we float anywhere between 8 to 12%. And just because somebody leaves the program, Richard, it's not just because they can't do it. We've never lost anybody to another organization. They've either gotten out of field or they moved away. So
we know that what's in it for the technician trainees. What do the mentors get out of the program?
So the mentors, the first 3 phases take 9 months. After 9 months, a mentor is given $1,500. And in the very beginning, in all honesty, in the first 8 to, I'll say 15, 16 weeks, there's times that the technician, the mentor, he's getting flagged sometimes. So he's getting a little extra time at points because they're all flat rate. So it keeps them happy too. I haven't had any pushback from any of the mentors. At the end of 2 years, they get an additional $2,500 for one of the trainees graduates, let's say. So after the 3 phases and 9 months later, the trainee is now flat rate. That doesn't mean the mentor is done with them. He is there for the remaining year and a quarter to help him or her out with any type of technical problems or just to ask a question to. And they keep their eye on them too, just to make sure they're doing everything the way we want them to do it.
You know, it's often thought of that you have to go to college to make a big paycheck. Could you tell me what a technician can earn in Philadelphia? Let's just say C or B level tech with good diagnostic skills and maybe 5 years experience.
Yeah, I'll start it with this. It does vary by manufacturer. Some manufacturers are more maintenance heavy than others. There's some that some manufacturers have a little heavier work with some engine work or whatever, or a recall that might have happened. But I would say a C technician can make conservatively anywhere between $60,000 and $75,000 a year, and then up to over $100,000 as an A. Probably in some cases, north of 150, depending on the franchise.
Another initiative that the Faulkner organization has invested in is a Catholic high school in Philadelphia called Father Judge. And Harry Faulkner gave Father Judge $1 million to create a technician training program. So there's not one, but 2 pipelines of technicians that are being funneled into the Faulkner organization. And not all those guys are going to end up working for Faulkner. Some will go to government fleets and some could work elsewhere. And it's interesting that Faulkner has placed so much emphasis on having a pipeline of technicians because providing good service, Rock, is absolutely important to keeping customers, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Like one of the things that a majority of our stores do is we do a video of every car that comes in the shop. Technician does a video. Well, we've now hooked up with True Video, and True Video is supporting us with training our students at Father Judge. So when they go into the dealerships, they understand the importance and how to properly video a vehicle when it's in the shop.
By the way, I was at Father Judge not too long ago, and they had a sort of an opening of the Faulkner Technician Institute there. And I couldn't resist walking over, and I saw Rocchi under the hood with a crowd of students around him, and he was showing them how to take off the plastic wire and connector on a car. That's the kind of guy Rocchi is. He never passes up an opportunity to help people. Rocchi, thank you so much for your time today. One last question for you.
Sure.
If other dealers wanted to do something like this, how would they even get started?
There's a lot of different ways, Richard. I mean, one way I really been telling people this for years, you have to create a relationship with a technical school of some sort, or preferably a good high school with automotive training classes, and start at that level. And quite honestly, being the president of Mazda for so many years, realize that this investment you're making, and that's what it is, you're making an investment, in the long run is going to pay you back twofold.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rocchi. It's always great talking to you.
All right, Richie, you take care. It's good seeing you.
That's Daily Drive for today. I'm Jamie Butters.
And I'm Jake Neer, in for Kellen Walker. Thanks to automotive news journalist John Irwin for his reporting for today's podcast. We also had reporting from David Kennedy of our sibling publication, Automotive News Canada. You can get the latest news on service and parts, federal regulations, and everything happening in the auto industry at autonews.com.
Come back tomorrow for a conversation with Don Fretwell, Senior Director of Sales at Pay Near Me, about how auto lenders can personalize payment options to match a borrower's unique needs.
We're really seeing firsthand how important it is to offer, flexible, convenient, and different ways to make payments.
We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of the show and the topics we covered today. Send us an email at dailydrive@autonews.com or leave us a voicemail at 313-444-2774. And if you enjoy the podcast, remember to like, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.